group ought to be fully self-supported, declining outside contributions. We will now pass the basket. This is a weekly STEP meeting. Our format is as follows. The speaker is asked to talk for 25 to 30 minutes on the STEP of that week, followed by discussion or questions until 7 p.m. You can find these weekly meetings on our YouTube page, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share. That brings us to the speaker portion of the meeting today, Monday, July 29th. In Doylestown, PA, at the Monday night 6 p.m. Stay Alive Literature and Step Group at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Tonight's speaker is Meredith, and she will be sharing her experience on steps 8 and 9. Please help me welcome Meredith.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name's Meredith. I am an alcoholic.
Hi, Meredith.
And thanks Nick for asking me to come out and speak for the group. So I'll just qualify myself and give you a little background about me. My sobriety date is August 27th, 2017, and I have a home group, which is a big book breakdown. We meet in Ivyland on Wednesday nights. It's an amazing group, and it's a really great way to learn the literature. So I encourage all to come out to our group. I have a sponsor, even close to 7 years of sobriety. I just saw her yesterday. I stay real close to her and the other women in my network. And I am fortunate, blessed, and extremely grateful to sponsor other women. So, step 8 and 9, I could sit here and I really thought I was going to just kind of go into our literature and just kind of, point out the clear-cut directions and tell you about the harms list and tell you, and not tell you, but just share my experience with my harms list and the process of making an amends. But I'm going to share just how I got here and why steps 8 and 9 are so significant to this healing process and to this spiritual journey. So to be completely honest, I never knew what I suffered from. I thought I liked to drink and do other things, and I did that for many, many, many years. And of course, doing that, drinking for many years, obviously came with a lot of consequences, but I really never thought I was hurting anybody else. I always thought I was only hurting myself. They teach us in our program, that we are very self-centered and we're selfish beings, and I never looked at myself and thought I was like a selfish person, ever. If I had a lunch and I only had one sandwich and you didn't have anything to eat, I'd rip my sandwich in half. I'd give you half of it. So to me, I always thought, I wasn't selfish, but that's being generous. That's not being, being selfish is just being completely consumed of self and, not really caring what I'm doing, and who I'm affecting, I just thought for years I was just affecting myself. And, I personally, I have 2 experiences with AA. I have the first time I came in my early 20s where I did not seek spirituality. I did not do anything that was recommended to me. I did not do the steps, and I did not stay sober. What a shock. And then I have my story now when I was in my late 30s and I came in, and I was so sick, so suffering that I now knew that at this age I wasn't going to grow out of this, and it wasn't the wrong group, it was me. And like they say, no matter where I go, I take myself. And so I've come to learn in this program what alcoholism is, and that it's not something that I'm going to grow out of. It's something that I continually grow into. So this time around, anything that my sponsor or the women who've walked before me told me to do, I was like, fine. If they told me to jump, I would say how high. I literally, either I was going to die or I had to pick up spiritual tools. And at this point, I knew that I had no choice. I wanted to die before I got here, right? But I didn't have the courage to do it myself. So it was I had no choice. It was just die or listen to other women. And obviously, I don't know if anybody else here can relate. I came in here with such a huge ego that you can't tell me what to do, because I already know, because my way worked so well for so long, right? Yeah, I had no relationships. I completely burnt every bridge. My beautiful family that I came from pretty much disowned me. My sister, who I was so close with, was disgusted with me. So like, you know, I burnt every bridge. I was not a really great human to be around. So I had mentioned just a bit ago, I didn't know what I suffered from, right? And so this time, I had a sponsor who was armed with the facts. My first sponsor was this really spiritual woman, and I know God put her in my life because she taught me all about spirituality and exactly what we suffer from. And so she explained it to me, you know. It's like I have a problem, like my solution for so long was alcohol, right? Like I could not be in my own skin. I needed to have something that could make me just deal with me. And so that's why I drank. But the problem was is when I put the drink in me, right? It's like the saying, like I'm off to the races. Once I put one in me, I don't want to stop. And I don't, you know? And then you can separate me from it, right? Like I can go to a detox, or you can lock me up and separate me. But then the obsession and the crazy alcoholic mind is going to drive me back to a drink. And so like by her explaining that to me, I thought, oh my God, like that makes sense. So it has nothing to do with like me not having willpower, right? Because I was like, what's wrong with me? How come my sister doesn't? How come she can do this and just put it down? Or how come my father can just do this and put it down? You know, what's wrong with me? Am I not strong enough? Am I weak? So I just never really understood any of that. So, you know, once I start, I don't want to stop. And once I'm separated, I have this obsession for more. So it sounds like it's physical and it sounds like it's mental, right? Great, like, you know, just what I need, a physical and a mental condition all rolled into one, called alcoholism. But then if I stop drinking, what's going to happen? If I stop drinking, I'm going to be left with me. And that's really when the alcoholism kicks up. Because now I don't have a solution, right? Now I don't have my alcohol, or I don't have dry goods. I don't have anything external to quiet the mind. And so that is alcoholism, that crazy head, right? That I need it, I want it, I have to have it, but meanwhile it's physically out of my system within like a few days, right? But I'm obsessing, and I have to be completely honest, it was not just alcohol. I can be obsessive and crazy over anything right now. I could be like that with people, right? I could be like that, like if I saw this new purse and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get it. I don't know if women can probably relate. I honestly have obsession over anything external. How come I'm not obsessing over like, I'm gonna take care of myself and pray more? How come I'm not thinking about praying more, or obsessing over, things that could be necessarily healthy for me, right? It's like my alcoholic mind helps me it doesn't help me. My alcoholic mind is so sick that I will only obsess over things that are external that are probably no good for me. So Nancy, who was my first sponsor, she was just amazing. This woman had a lot of external stuff going on when I met her. And I remember it was God that put her into my life, because I can't tell you exactly why I asked her to be my sponsor then, but looking back, I now know, because she had like so much. If I had one of the 5 things that this woman had going on, I literally would probably just like, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to deal. This woman had all these things. Her poor child just like jumped in front of a train like 2 weeks before I met her, because he couldn't get sober. She had like multiple children and multiple jobs and a single woman, and just like she had so much stuff that I remember thinking like, I can't deal with one of her things. But my God, she walked around with just this peace of mind and was like, everything's going to be okay. God will protect me, God will guide me, God will give me the grace. And I'm just like, I don't know what this lady is up to, but I need this, because I can't deal with a hangnail. She has like real life stuff happening. So she taught me all about what I suffered from. She taught me all about that it's a spiritual program and that I need to find a power greater than myself, to tap into that power to help keep me sober. And so I listened. I went to her house weekly. I did everything, because You know, I do come from a really loving family. My parents were married for 53 years. You know, they always wanted to see both of their daughters like succeed and do well, and you know, they were good people. And this disease, like death, doesn't discriminate. Doesn't matter. This disease? We all look different on the outside, right? We can come from all different neighborhoods. We can come from all different means, religion, race, creed. It does not matter. And so, like this. Like I came from a good family. It didn't matter. I was literally a hopeless drunk and drug addict to the T. Like parents didn't think I was going to stay alive. They're, you know, so like doesn't matter where I came from. I came from Bucks County, 20 minutes away. But what we all look different, we all come from different walks of life, but the thing that we all struggle with is that internal, that spiritual malady, the way that we all feel, that soul sickness. We come in here and we just like, we don't feel okay. We, you know, we want to, you know, die, or we want to continue, just, we don't feel like we're worth it. We, you know, whatever it is, we feel like there's a hole in our soul, and I want to take everything external to fill it up and to make me feel better. And so that's like what we all have that in common. We all have that soul sickness, that spiritual malady, that lack of something. We all share that. And again, she taught me all this. Like the first time I came in, and I didn't listen to anybody. I was just such a kid, and I thought I was going to grow out of this. Man, I thought it was because just the crew I ran with. I did not realize that this was like part of my DNA, will always be who I am. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Never, ever, ever realized that. So my parents, beautiful people, wonderful family, you know, and I don't know who originally said this. I hear it all the time. I love it. It's the truth. I feel like I know Ron has shared it before, but the longer I stay sober, the better my childhood becomes. And it's really the truth, because, you know, now I have such like a better understanding of, you know, why now I understand why things may have seemed a certain way. You know, now that I've been through these steps, and I've looked at my resentments, and I've looked at my part, and I've seen, you know, I now know my parents did the best they could with what they had. And so my parents, they would have done anything for me. You know, my mom, you know, I remember, this was, you know, and this is the truth. My mom loved me so much, and I might start to cry, that when I was like 23 and I was strung out, my mom was in the bath, like trying to like scrub it out of me. Like she just wanted me to like get better, because I was so sick. And that's like all they ever wanted. And what did I do? Every time I got drunk, or I got high, I stole, not money, and not, I never stole money or jewelry from them, but I stole such non-tangible things for so many years. I stole their peace of mind. I stole sleepless nights. Like my poor family had PTSD for years, that if they would hear the phone ring after 10 o'clock, they would literally not be sure if it was a hospital, a police station, or me like crying terribly. You know, so it's like I come in here and I don't think I'm selfish, right? I think I'm only hurting myself. You know, and I come into AA and I think, you know, I'm like, I'm not, you know, I'm not really self-centered, but meanwhile, everything revolves around me. Like, and it's all, I'm just so consumed of self. Like, I didn't realize what I was doing to my family. I didn't realize how much I was hurting them. I didn't realize that for years after I got better, they would still be sick to their stomach. Certain things would come up, and they would be so sick with like the phone ringing. I didn't realize that even though I had 5 or 6 years sober at the time, when my mom was dying and she had the hospice kit at home, I didn't realize that they were still locking it up, because they were so scared that I was going to go in there and just ransack it and blow my life to pieces. Like I didn't really, I realized that now when I was sober, but like I didn't realize the depth of how much I took from them. So the amends process, right? So we do our steps. The 12 steps are in the order they are for a reason, right? You know, we do step 4 and 5, and we have these resentments, right? And we see the areas of self it's affected, and then we see what our character defects are, and then we see where we were to blame. And like that's really was eye-opening, right? Because that's where I really learned about my selfishness and self-centeredness. And that's really where I learned that my parents did the best they could with raising me. And that's really where I learned how I took so many non-tangible things from my parents for so many years. So when you go and you do your 4th and your 5th step, you pretty much already have your 8th step, your list. Like pretty much, good sponsorship is very important. Because if I did this 4th step by myself, I would have probably been like, I didn't really harm these people. Like I would have probably been like, yeah, a little bit, but like good sponsorship really will help point it out to you and be like, oh yeah, well I remember my last 4th step with a well-respected woman in the program. She's like, well, you better put a star next to that one, because that one you're doing first, and you would have better put an exclamation point next to that one, because that's your really good friend in Alcoholics Anonymous that saved your life, and that you're delusional. And so like literally good sponsorship is so important, because if I was left to my own devices, like I probably would have never have made all the amends that I have made. But I'm really just going to touch on the ones with my family. So you know, the word sorry has like no weight when you're one of us. It had no weight for me. Like, do you know how many times did I tell everybody, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, it's not going to happen again. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean that, or I'm so sorry. No. So like, I was taught that when I go to make an amends, there is no more I'm sorry. To make an amends is to amend a relationship, to repair. And so I was taught that when I would go to make any amends, there's certain words I need to use. And those words are, I was wrong when I did X, Y, and Z. I know I hurt you when I did X, Y, and Z. And my experience is that when you approach somebody, when you go to make an amends and you say things like that, you've got an audience. They're going to listen now. Because for me, it was so healing to be able to. The amends process is like it's a very healing process. That's my whole experience. Even if it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, a certain amends, because I'm going in there and I'm stating my wrongs. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I hurt you because there was years of you guys couldn't sleep. You guys were a nervous wreck. You had to bail me out of jail. I was wrong because you came to Colorado when I was 302'd and had to drive my car back east. I was wrong when I got physical with you. I know I hurt you when you would see mom crying from despair. And then let me tell you about the ripple effect. So the ripple effect is anyone in my family, like my uncle was my mom's go-to. So my uncle, even though I personally didn't directly harm him, who do you think my mom called every single time she was in despair? She called my Uncle Randy every single time. So Uncle Randy, I was wrong to just steal years of your life, your time. Because every time my mother had a problem with me, which was often, and she would get in fights with my father over me, she would come to you. I'm so grateful that you took all those calls, that you helped my mom through that. That's like the ripple effect, right? That's good sponsorship. I would have never thought in a million years to make an amends to my Uncle Randy for listening to my mother for all those years of the pain and suffering I put them through. Now, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny to me, because my parents were in like their own fellowship to like help, they were in like an Al-Anon, but for like the, for drugs. They were in Nor-Anon for me. And they had a home group, they had a sponsor, they were like full blown in that, and it was like the most beautiful thing. So they knew a little bit about the amends process, because they were like already like involved, and they thought it was going to come out like a marching band, and I don't know how they learned what they learned, but like they thought that this amends process, when I like scheduled or told them like, I need to carve out some time with you, I need to make these amends. I don't know what they thought, but they thought there was a whole lot of bells and whistles coming, like there wasn't, because they had I don't know what my mom's sponsor told her, but my mom's sponsor must have really built this whole thing up to where my mom had this like fantasy, or this like where I just was gonna, I don't even know. So I just remember I'm like sick, I'm not sick to my stomach, but like I know all the stuff that I have to make an amends for, and my mom's like, come on in, like it was like I'm having like a party or something, but it really wasn't funny, but it was just, I just will never forget that when I walked into the living room to talk to my parents. It was just like, wow. So one of the things with the amends process that I was taught to do is you state your wrongs, you state how you hurt them, and then there comes a part of the amends where you, at the end, say, did I leave out anything? Did I leave out anything that you feel you should share, or we should discuss, or what have you? And then I was taught to shut my mouth no matter how bad I would want to, defend myself or have a comment. And my parents individually, they didn't have much more to say, but I was shocked. My sister, who I thought my sister was going to be my easiest amends. I'm like, oh yeah, that's my girl. Like, she'll love me till I love myself. She's been rooting for me my whole life. Woo, boy. I heard so much stuff about, I was reckless. Listen, I used to drive my like newborn nephew, and like, or when he was a toddler, I used to pick him up from preschool all the time, and I had no right driving that car, none. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm doing my family a favor. I'm picking up my nephew from daycare. I'm gonna take him home. Well, thank God, my nephew made it home each time, because when I stopped talking, and I made my amends for that, which was terrifying to do. But boy, did I hear all sorts of stuff. That was probably very, very, very hard to hear, because she just laid right into me, and she just pretty much told me that I'm lucky nothing ever happened to him, because if something would have happened to him, I don't care how close we are, I would have disowned you and I would have never spoken to you ever again. And it just like ripped my soul, because I'm like, now I'm like, sober, and I'm like, oh God. So that was an experience. The whole process, and I had other amends. I'm not gonna share on them, because I don't have much more time. But the whole amends process was a way for me to show up, state my wrongs, say how I hurt them, clean up my side of the street. They had a chance to share what they maybe wanted to share, but I was a walking time bomb before, so my family was completely terrified to like say anything around me, because they didn't know if I was going to literally like freak out, or if I was going to leave and never come back. So like, I think what my sister shared with me during the amends was something she wanted to say for a very, very, very long time, and never felt safe enough to say it. So it was healing for her too. So we read the 9-step promises at pretty much a lot of meetings, and the steps come with, you know, each step has like, let's see, there's so many warnings, there's so much direction. Like each step, they give you, each step has like a prayer, has a promise, but the 9th step promises, I'm just going to read them because we're doing that, and then I'll close with that. But I never, ever, ever thought that my life would be the way it is today. And I never thought that actually I was praying, like, you know, I pray all the time, but I was actually just like, I was like so grateful the other day, and I was sitting there and I was praying, and I was like, God, thank you so much for everything you've given me, everything you've taken from me. And I just was like, I am so grateful. And then I sat there and I thought to myself, yeah, I'm extremely grateful, and I have many, many beautiful things. But I was like, God, thank you for every opportunity you've given me. Thank you, God, for all the love you have given me. Thank you, God, for surrounding me with all these amazing people who teach me and love me every day. And I was like, and that truly is like why I'm so grateful. And I never thought I would be at peace. Never. I was a tortured soul. I was a tortured soul for so many years. And this program has given me a life literally beyond my wildest dreams. It's given me contentment, it's given me peace of mind, it's given me a heck of a lot, which I can't even believe this, cash and prizes, as Ron likes to say, where I'm just like, I just want to share that all with like everybody, because I'm just like amazed every time I look around and another opportunity happens, and I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, and you know, I just want to be a maximum service to God and to my fellows, you know. That's what I learned. That's what I do. Get out of myself, help somebody else, and that's where the freedom comes from. And like that right there, that's the freedom is my most precious gift of all. Is not having to worry about when is the next one, how much do I have, when, you know, like all of those things. Let me find this. Which page? Thank you. The old me would have been like, I know. I don't. Obviously, I don't. Yeah. So I'll read these, and then I'll close with that. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. Thanks everyone for letting me share.
Thank you. All right. Please limit your sharing to 3 minutes. Please keep your shares related to the step. If you feel like drinking or if you've had a drink today, please see me or speak to someone after the meeting. We ask that you please refrain from the use of profanity. We're in a church and on a spiritual journey. All right, open the meeting up.